Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pasek with the broadcasting legend Storm and Norm Rumack, and welcome to the return of Fired Up Live. But we gotta thank this great person and this great network for having us back.
You are watching the flagship show on the Fired Up Network. Let's all get fired up on Fired Up Live.
Well, there you see the broadcasting legend, Storm and Norm Rumack. We've been doing this. Norm, I went back, and when I was first on your show, the Fan 590, the late night vampire, about 2:30 in the morning, because you had nobody to talk about Brazil soccer. That's before you were a big soccer fan. Do you know when it was? 1998. So that means I carried you for 27 years.
Well, no wonder you got a hernia now, Joe.
Thanks for letting everybody know that. All right, Norm. The first time I'm back here, look, I even shaved, look nice. I know. By the way, Norm, he has promised me at the end of the show he's going to sing some Irish songs. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there, by the way. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And here, we're Fired Up Network. Check us out on firedupnetwork.ca. Sports talk like you never heard before. We're going to begin in the NBA, Norm. The NBA 2025, it looks like it's opposite. First seed in the West, Oklahoma City. First seed in the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers minus the King, LeBron James. How do you foresee the NBA this season?
Well, Cleveland's a great story. They got two great guards, and Garland and Mitchell. I'm not having even mentioned the rest of the roster, but Cleveland's just been a great story. Now, I wouldn't go exactly discounting the Boston Celtics because they're in second place. It's like they're the champions. Until you dethrone the champions, you can't really. I mean, the regular season, like I say, Cleveland's a great story, and they're going to be a tough out for anybody. I could see Cleveland possibly winning the whole thing. I'd like to see OKC because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously being a fellow Canadian just down the road from us from Hamilton, Ontario, 40 miles from Toronto, for those of you watching in the States or other parts of Canada. Well, other parts, where Hamilton is. But anyway, so, yeah, I have a bias. I'd like to see SGA win the MVP, which I think he's going to win. And I'd like to see the Thunder win the whole thing. It'd be great to have a Canadian MVP. And you got to think that if Oklahoma City could go all the way and win it, then Shai Gilgeous has a good chance to win, the NBA Finals, be an MVP in the playoffs as well. So, just saying down the road, ordinarily, I'd say, what'll be a good playoff series if they match up at some point would be the Celtics and the Knicks. But Jalen Brunson is out probably until the playoffs begin, and even that's not. He's got a bad ankle sprain or something. So Jalen Brunson is not only a great guard, but is the heart and soul of the New York Knicks. So Joe, if he comes back and he's in good shape, anything's possible. Remember, the Knicks had some memorable playoff series last spring, so they could be kind of like a team that's a little bit under the radar, I think. But the Knicks really inspired New York City last spring because they play us almost like a hockey style. They're very physical, they're highly skilled, they're tough mentally. I really like the Knicks as a bit of a sleeper team.
Well, first of all, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, certainly the MVP of the NBA season. It looks like that, okay? Now, the Knicks, like you mentioned, Brunson, out till late March, early April. Right now, if the season ended off, they'll play in the first round the Detroit Pistons. And boy, Detroit out of nowhere. The theme, Cleveland and Oklahoma and all that, but Detroit out of nowhere getting a top 6 spot. And I'm telling you right now, if Brunson is injured or he doesn't play, there could be a sneaky surprise with Detroit beating the New York Knicks. Don't forget.
Yeah, I agree. Anything's possible if the Knicks don't have Brunson. And I think since he's been out, they've had their struggles against some of the top teams in the league. Not a surprise because, everybody knows Brunson is the heart and soul of that team. So But if he does come back, even if they drop a spot in the playoffs, because how many games are they? What are they? A game or two ahead of Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Standing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously Milwaukee's a heck of a team. So I'm not quite sure who would if the Knicks slip down one place, who would they meet in the first round if it started today?
Right now, it's Milwaukee will play Indiana. So if the Knicks slip down, they will play Indiana, presumably if Indiana doesn't go up, right? So it's still we still got about 15, 16 games left. Still everything to play for, and boy, the play-ins. Our team, well, I'll say our team because we're from Toronto, but the Raptors could have got a top 4 pick. Now they're a couple games from the play-in. What's going on with the Raptors? There, they need a top 4 or 5 pick.
Well, I agree with you. I think this would be in their situation. I could see if you're a big Raptor diehard fan or a Raptor season ticket holder, you'd say, nah, they even though they're like 20 games under 500, and 20 games under 500 is a bit of I think nothing against the Raptors personally. For them, they don't care. If the rules allow them to play in a play-in, and they're 20 games under 500, well, take advantage of it. So, from their point of view, it's a real bonus. And let's face it, all professional teams make their gravy, their profit money on playoff tickets. So, from Raptors management point of view, I could see where they're thinking, hey, if we can get a playoff date or maybe pull a surprise, get a couple playoff dates, then we make our gravy. And MLSE is like any other corporation. They're about making money, right? Playoffs is their bread and butter. Same with the Maple Leafs. That's why this is a key year for the hockey team to advance past the second round, not just get to the second round, get past the second round. And there's high expectations. If they disappoint again this year, how much longer are you going to keep that top 4 together? Not that it's all their fault, but they need, I know I'm diverting here, but I'm just saying, in terms of the Raptors, home playoff dates is what management wants. Whereas I think, as you do, Joe, we agree on this, they'd be better off getting or possibly getting, a top lottery pick, if they were to, let's say, tank. And nobody should be shattered by the word tank. A lot of teams do it. Teams have been doing it for years. Take any of the top picks. Teams all you do is you call up your players from your farm team. If it was the Raptors, it'd be the D League. Or I'm just saying, you give more playing time to your younger players, your less experienced players. There's creative ways of tanking, but I think they'd be better off stocking up. And I'll divert to you on this, Joe. Do the Raptors have both their picks this year?
No, it's a bunch of again. If India because of the Pascal Siakam trade, if Indiana finishes in top 5, they get Indiana's pick, and it will take a half an hour to disclose which pick they have, which pick they don't have, and for that matter, look, we talked about Cleveland and Oklahoma. Oklahoma had the big 3, Kevin Durant and Harden and all that, and they were great, but they didn't do it. Cleveland had LeBron. They did it one time, but Cleveland was at the bottom when LeBron left, and now they're at the top. So, again, they do this with picks. In the NBA, more than any other team, more than any other league, you do this with top picks who play and work hard. So, and like me and Norm, you say this all the time when we're talking to people, we're talking to, stars or players or whatever. The height of the Raptors was in 1999 when they captured the NBA championship, was or in 2019, 1999, they had Vince Carter, and it was supposed to be packed, and it was 20,000, or so they say. And Norm, you could have gone down, you could have had a great seat, you could have had your friend Norm Jessen, who does your dentist, he's your dentist and all that, watch the game and all that. So I don't know what the Raptors are doing right now. Are they tanking, like you say, or do they want to make the play-in? Because right now, how they're playing, even though yesterday they were leading, but they tanked because they lost. All right, but even I don't know what they're doing. They got a bunch of good guys, and Scotty Barnes been hurt, been this and that. But if you play like a team, this team should be. There's 15 games left. The coach should say, "Okay, we're gonna try. We're gonna try to win. But if we lose, it's okay. We get a top 5 pick. Not let's make the play in. What are they going to do in the play in? Because then they have to play Cleveland, Milwaukee, Indiana, the Knicks. Are they even going to win one game in the round one?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about playing the top echelon, not likely. I mean, so I still think they would have been better off. And I know, like I say, some Raptor fans hate the word tanking, but I think they'd be better off, stockpiling as many draft picks as they can and continue their rebuild. They got some good performances from some of their younger players the last couple of months, which is encouraging. But I think they should continue to build on that, or even if they had high draft picks, they could even trade for some more experienced players, depending. I'm not going to claim I have enough expertise to know how good this draft is going to be and how many impact players. Certainly, we'll get to it a little bit later. The Final Four has got some showcasing some strong teams in the tournament, and especially the Final Four picks, right? Got some real classy teams in there, including Duke, Florida, Auburn. And what's the fourth one? I'm missing the fourth seed off the top of my head.
Duke, Auburn, Florida, and I forgot it. I'll find it. Don't worry.
All right, so I'm saying there's certainly some talent in there, and it's not all. Sometimes it's not just the lottery picks that turn. Occasionally, not often, but occasionally you can get a second round pick who evolves into a very good player. I mean, remind me, Joe, if you happen to know, and maybe you don't know, it's a bit of a tough question. When Steph Curry was drafted into the NBA, what number was he drafted?
I believe 8th.
Okay, so that's pretty high pick, but I don't think anybody forecasted him to be like
one pick, by the way. Houston's the other number 1 pick. So
yeah, that's right.
All right, you started with this. For those who don't know, hold on, Norm. You're watching Fired Up Live here, Fired Up Network, firedupnetwork.ca on 12 Ounce Sports. Check us out. 12 Ounce Sports is the place to be. They got so many other sports, and we're proud to be with them. And I want to say this. I'm the president of the provinces of Canada. No, I have a meeting with Donald Trump, okay? The mayor-elect of North America, soon to run for the mayor of Mozambique. Can't spell it, but I will soon to run for it. All right, Norm? Now, everybody knows you're the broadcasting legend. You graduated from Syracuse University with a 0.4 grade point average. But Norm, honestly, Syracuse, your team, where are they in the tournament this year?
They're not in, and they don't deserve to be. They didn't have, I think, 14-19 was their record or something like that. So if you don't get 20 wins or very close to 20 wins and some impressive wins against top-ranked teams, you're not getting in. So no one who follows Syracuse is going to complain about that. They just
are you mad about that, Norm?
No, I'm not mad. I mean, they're going through a bit of a rebuild. Don't forget, Coach Boeheim's been retired for a couple of years, so I think they're rebuilding from the bottom up. And the football team went through a rebuild, and they had a very good year last season. They surprised a lot of people. So I think in time, maybe next year, you can look for Syracuse to be knocking on the door of the NCAA tournament, and in hoops. And like I say, the football team, in a very short time, has carried off a very nice turnaround. Used to be the case in the 80s and 90s where Syracuse football was consistently ranked in the top 20, top 25, going to and winning some big bowl games, graduating players to the NFL. So, I mean, depends how far back you go. If you want to go back to the late 70s with the likes of Art Monk, eventually playing on a Super Bowl winner with the Washington, then known, of course, as the Redskins back in those days. With Joe Theismann, the former Argos quarterback, was the quarterback of those great Washington teams that had Art Monk as a wide receiver. And later on, of course, in the early part of the millennium, the likes of Donovan McNabb and Marvin Harrison and Dwight Freeney, it was regular to see top players from Syracuse go in the NFL and have good careers, and not been quite the same since the early part of the millennium. So, seeing as the football team was able to turn itself around, I'm hoping the basketball program will similarly get turned around within the next year or two.
All right. So, by the way, a shout out to my good friend. Oh, you're a good friend also, Tracy Murray. He wants to know UCLA. What your thoughts? And give me your final 4 picks. So go ahead, and then we'll go to hockey and NFL.
Well, with my schedule, Joe, I have a full-time job doing other things. So, all due respect to my friend Tracy Murray, I haven't had a chance to watch the UCLA Bruins, so I don't want to give a comment when I haven't seen them play. So I'll skip that question. If you've seen them play, then go ahead and you can fill.
UCLA always has, much like Syracuse, they always have a tradition of winning. Tracy Murray talks about UCLA Bruins because he played for UCLA and everything like that. And they'll be. I'm not saying they're going to win, okay, but they'll be surprising teams. There's going to be a lot of surprises here, but I think out of those top 4 number 1 picks, probably 2, if not 3, will make the Final Four. Do you agree?
Yeah, this is a year where you could have the Final Four where I think, quite often 2 teams make it, but this is a year where you could have 3, maybe 4 make it. But, it's just a wild guess, flip a coin,
Or is not going to make it. Do you want to place a bet here? Check out 12 Ounce Sports for great betting details on all sports. But do you want to place a bet here? I will say all the 4 seeds, number 1 seeds, will not make it. 3 out of 4 maybe, but not 4 out of 4. Do you want to place a bet?
I said maybe. So
no, maybe means nothing. Maybe Canada becomes the 51st, state in America. But for you Americans out here, all right, I don't want to be political, but we have 11 provinces, correct, Norm?
10 provinces and 2 territories, Joe.
Yes. So 2 territories, 10 provinces. So that means 12. So 50 times 12 is 62. So Donald Trump, you're going to have 62 states. Or how about the states moving into Canada and singing "Oh Canada" since we won the National Hockey League, what's it called? Face-off 4, Final 4 or whatever. Oh Canada, beating the States. Great, thrilling victory for Canadians. Much like myself, you're half American because you've been in Syracuse and all that. But let's head to the National Hockey League. I'm not going to talk about your team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have not won the Stanley Cup in 60 years. 60! Well, close to 58, but whatever. It's going to be 60, 62 or whatever. Now, we're about 15 games away. All right? Trade deadline's gone. Give me your Stanley Cup pick.
All right, I'm going to pick the Florida Panthers to repeat.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So give me your other second pick then. If you say Florida and I say not going to happen, who's your second pick?
Colorado.
Maybe going to happen, but not going to happen. You know who's going to win?
No,
I'm telling you. You told me this. You don't want to say it on air here, but Norm last night, as we were thinking about the show and all that, he says, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if Edmonton or Montreal win the Stanley Cup? And I said, Edmonton, yeah.
Montreal's not winning it.
What do you mean Montreal's? Listen, that's my choice if I say not going to happen. You do not say that. You do not steal my stuff, all right? Edmonton struggling. Who has a better – look, all the Canadian teams, out of all the Canadian teams, who do you think could go to the Stanley Cup final?
Well, the Leafs have enough talent to, and obviously Edmonton does, and Winnipeg does as well. This year there's 3 Canadian teams that have a shot. And I think Ottawa could be a sleeper, not to go to the finals, but to maybe win a round and go to second round. I think Brady Tkachuk is like, him and his brother Matthew are 2 of the best, if not the best, power forwards in the National Hockey League. They're highly skilled, highly tough. They do it all. And, look at how good Ottawa's become with Brady Tkachuk as their captain. I mean, I know he's not like a rookie or anything, but I'm just saying, you saw that game against Toronto on the weekend. And Ottawa is a much different looking club than the one we've seen for the last 8 to 10 years. That's for sure.
And Ottawa would have to play Kachuk against Kachuk. Matthew Kachuk, even though he's injured now, right now, as if the season stopped, would be Florida against Ottawa. Also would be Dallas, Colorado, which we saw yesterday playing. These are fantastic first round series in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's some great playoffs coming up for sure.
All right, so that does with NHL. So what does that mean? We got the NFL here. The NFL. I'm going to say this: March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. I should be wearing green. Norm should have told me. All right, March 17th, 2025. The winner of the Super Bowl next year will not be the Kansas City Chiefs. Will not be the Philadelphia Eagles. Will not be the Dallas Cowboys. I know you're a big fan of them. Dallas Cowboys will not be the Green Bay Packers. All right. I could go through list. Who will it be? And Norm, you know what I'm going to say. There's only one team in the National Football League that circles the wagons. Thank you, Chris Berman. But the Buffalo Bills. Do you agree with that?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if next year's Super Bowl Philadelphia comes back. And
there's not going to be Philadelphia either.
Yeah, no, there will be. I don't think the Eagles really have much of a weakness anywhere. Predictions are worth like 2 cents because it doesn't really mean much.
Right,
but you never know. And I think they'll match up with Buffalo, and I think finally it'll be Buffalo's turn to do something special with Josh Allen at the helm. He's already special. He's got his new contract. He's happy. But yeah, I think I think it's the Bills' turn. They've been knocking on the door for a long time, and I think next year they'll be ready.
All right, this is the greatest moment Norm has ever done in our almost 30-year together. I could kiss you. Hell, I'm gonna get Eric Cohen to kiss you. All right, that's you just mentioned the Buffalo Bills are gonna win the Super Bowl. Norm, you know how many years you everybody who are our friends said, Buffalo, come on, get Buffalo. They lost with Kansas City, the referees and all this. But I can't believe the broadcasting legend from Syracuse said, what did you say again?
Buffalo, Philadelphia in the Super Bowl next year.
Who cares about Philadelphia? Who do you say is the Super Bowl champion?
Well, I'll go with your Buffalo Bills this time, Joe. I think they're overdue.
See, it's about time. I finally convinced him. All right. So, Norm, there's one big thing in Toronto. I'm going to talk about Toronto. The Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have a guy, Vladimir Guerrero, was his birthday yesterday. So happy birthday. I believe he turned 26, 27 years old. It's out there that he wants a 14 to 15-year deal worth about $500 to $600 million. The only guy in the world who has signed, thanks to 12-ounce sports, a $500 to $600 million Canadian deal is the broadcasting legend Norm Rumack. So, Norm, what? Did I hear that's wrong?
Yes, you did.
Well, 12-ounce sports quench your thirst for sports, Norm? Can you at least say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So you admitted that they gave you a 14 to 15-year deal. All right. So do you think that, first of all, 14, 15 years, unheard of, but do you think they're going to be coming close to signing whatever, 525, 550? Do you think the Blue Jays will sign him?
Well, it's not a question, will the Blue Jays sign him? Well, he signed with the Blue Jays. I mean, the ball's in his court, right? So I don't know what his thinking is. I just don't know. I think it's a generous offer. But will he? I don't know. I don't know where his head's at. I don't know, Mr. Guerrero. I haven't spoken to him, so I don't know where his thinking is on what he thinks he's worth, and if that would make him happy.
Oh yeah, I know him. I speak Spanish, Norm. You know this, right?
Uh-huh.
Vlad, ¿qué está haciendo? If a $500, $600 million deal, Norm will give you the pen to sign the contract Normal. Look, everybody. Shohei Ohtani. Apparently, the Blue Jays were in on him. $1 billion later, okay? And then Juan Soto. Blue Jays are running everybody. Your own guy, homegrown, Canadian. I don't care. Everybody's misnomer that he's, Spanish, Latin descent. Yes, he's that. But he was born in Montreal when Montreal had a team. His dad was playing for the Expos. He's Canadian. Just signed the deal. My bigger question is, okay, they signed, they don't sign. What do you do with Bo Bichette?
I don't know what you do with Bo Bichette. I don't have an answer for you.
You certainly don't give him a $600 million deal.
Well, how much are they offering him?
If Vlad signs a $500 million deal, okay, how much do you offer Bo Bichette?
I don't know, Joe. I don't have an instant answer for you. I'm being honest.
Okay. Yeah. So
you sign him for? I don't know.
All right. So now let's look.
I don't know where the Blue Jays are at in terms of how much money are they willing to spend. They're not. Rogers is pretty close to the vest. I mean, they spend heavily on their hockey team, but some of the Blue Jay fans get irate that the Blue Jays haven't spent more. They're a top 10 spending team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But it's been a long time since they spent into the top 3 or 4. And didn't their executive, I don't know if he said so in as many words, but sounds like they kind of like have their pencils sharpened on where they're drawing their line financially.
All right, so for people in the States listening to this, we're based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The Blue Jays, much like the Raptors, the Leafs, Blue Jays spent above $300 million for renovations for the Rogers Center. Scotiabank Arena, the home of the Raptors and Maple Leafs, spent about $250 million for renovations of Scotiabank Arena. That's great. That's great and everything like that. For those who don't know, the price of beer at Rogers Center or Scotiabank Arena for like 10 ounce, what do you say, 10, 12 ounce, well, we're around 12 ounce, okay? 12 ounce sports, 12 ounces, is about $40 to $35 to $40 Canadian, all right? Canadian. Sure, they have Looney Dog Night every Tuesday, and they sell 50,000 Looney Dogs because Norm eats 25,000 of them. But still, Looney Dog. Your focus should not be on modeling the Scotiabank Arena, the Rogers Center. Your focus should be getting players to compete in the toughest division there is in the American League East. Do you agree?
Well, it is a brutally tough division. There's no question about it. I mean, even Tampa Bay with every year, it's an annual thing with them. They're the 3rd to 5th lowest payroll in Major League Baseball. And they're a thorn in the side of every other team in the AL East, in spite of their low payroll. Nobody's better at finding players from other teams who haven't worked out or have struggled or whatever, and they revive careers. And when Tampa Bay picks players, they seem to know when to move them on, and they develop young players in draft. I don't know if anybody's really better, considering their payroll, at developing and finding young players, and then finding players from other clubs and staying competitive in, no doubt. I mean, I don't know if there is a more competitive division than the AL East. Baltimore went through it was almost like a 20-year slump, and now they're loaded with prospects. Blue Jays got one of their former players, Santander, but in any case, the Orioles have been revived. There's injuries coming into this season. The Yankees lost their ace for the year, their ace pitcher.
Garrett Cole.
That's right. Garrett Cole is out. He had Tommy John surgery. The Red Sox have been slowly turning the corner. They got themselves a hell of a player from the Houston Astros at third base. So, I think the AL East will be as competitive, and even the Yankees losing their ace, not like they're going to roll over. I mean, the Yankees have had pitching injuries before, and they've survived them. So, and the Yankees are never walked away from a chance to spend more money if they think it'll help them or make a big trade. So, I wouldn't write off the Yankees just yet because Cole is out. So anyway, I think it's going to be another real dogfight in the AL East this year. And we'll see if the Blue Jays, with Scherzer on the mound, helping them out. I mentioned Santander. But we'll see how much the Blue Jays can move up and if they can stay healthy and how competitive their pitching, their bullpen, and their fielding will be.
And let's face it, if they can't sign Vlad or Bo Bichette, these guys are in play before the trade deadline. So put it that way. It should be an interesting year at the Rogers Center and to Toronto Blue Jays, because if they trade Vlad, I want to see the package they get. Even Bichette, I want to see the package they get, because that can make your team for the next 10 years if they get a great package, or sign him because he's still young, right? So that's it. By the way, we're hopefully going to be joined by a special guest here on Fired Up Live. You're watching Fired Up Live with the return of the broadcasting legend Norm Rumack out of Syracuse University here on 12 Ounce Sports. Check out 12 Ounce Sports. Great sports topics and everything like that. And we're going to have several contests throughout the weeks. Now, Norm, we're going to be joined. He requested, he says it's the return of the broadcasting legend from Syracuse University. The guy can't even kick a ball. It's the coach, Carmen Asacco. Yes, the coach of men's, York University, men's and ladies, and former assistant coach of TFC. Carmen, how you doing?
I'm okay, Joe. I heard you were back. I just had to be part of it. And Norm.
All right, hold on.
I didn't go to Syracuse, by the way. I went to a proper university. I went to the University of Maryland, where it's proper sports teams, proper education. So don't ever get that wrong again. And we weren't on the snow belt. So we were allowed to go outside and get some fresh air.
Yeah, well, I was always outside getting fresh air.
Yeah, that hacking darts doesn't count.
All right. On that note,
there's lots of fresh air on Marshall Street outside the pubs that we visited, so not to worry. We got lots of fresh air.
What a day, St. Patrick's Day. I'm sure you're going to be at the pubs, Norm. Put it that way. You're off and you're at the pubs. All right. We talked about every sport except one, the greatest sport in the world. Football, but soccer. And Carm, I got to, because he's here and it's the first time we're back. So I got to, you know what I got to start off with, all right? Chelsea, his Chelsea Blues. He's singing the Chelsea Blues. This guy has made more excuses this year than ever about his team, Chelsea. Norm, go ahead.
I haven't made excuses. I've just stated like it is. They got a very young team. They need more experienced players. And, I think the manager, Mr. Maresca, seems to be married to one style of play, which is getting pretty easy to defend against. Just basically a lot of passing sideways and forwards. In fact, he's told his players if they don't play exactly as he's directed them to, then they sit out. So now, having said that, we're missing our top scorers in this recent game against Arsenal. We got outplayed, so no excuses. Arsenal's missing players too, so they're a better team than us right now. But as the standings are with the international break on. For Chelsea, it's 2.5 weeks off. They're still in fourth place, although the way they're playing lately, I don't like their chances of hanging on to a Champions League spot. There's only 5 points between, I think, 9th spot and 4th spot in the Premier League. And then even Nottingham Forest is, not exactly locked into their spot as good as they've been. They've been a great story this year. I think they're 5 points above Chelsea. So in any case, Chelsea's got some young, exciting players coming in next year. But I think, most of the fan base across the world would like to see them add some more experienced players to be like on-field leaders, just like in the previous era of Jose Mourinho and, in the Abramovich era, if you want to call it that. They always had key veterans, great leaders, depending, everybody has different opinions, but I think within the club, they would say John Terry was a great clubhouse leader. You had Ashley Cole, Didier Drogba, Michael Essien, even before the Abramovich era, towards the end of the beginning of the Abramovich, you had Claude Makelele. It's a long list of John Obi Mikel, the great Nigerian player. So they had a long list of veteran players who provided key leadership in the locker room, and I think that's what's missing right now. But it could be worse considering the sanctions that they undertook. The club could have gone out of business after Russia invaded the Ukraine. And that's a whole other story in terms of the sanctions. I won't mention what was it, about 100 billion that the UK government spent on Russian oil and gas in terms of what funded their war, their awful war in the Ukraine. But in any case, that's a whole other topic for another day. But, things could always be better. Things could be worse. There's 9 games left to go. And maybe with our injured players coming back, in terms of Jackson and Palmer and Wiki, maybe the return of they happen to be our 3 leading scorers this year. Maybe if they can stay healthy to the rest of the season, maybe at least we can win some games that you wouldn't expect us to, and at least stay into maybe a 5th spot for Europa League. But like I say, the way the club's been playing lately, a lot of us have our doubts that they're going to hang on to the 4 or 5 spot. They may be closer to 7 or 8, considering the gap and how tough the schedule is going to be and how many teams are competing for those spots. So no one's going to be taking any days off in the coming weeks in those final 8 or 9 games. So it could be tough for Chelsea hanging on to one of those European spots is the way. I think it's a fairly objective look at the club. I think that's fair.
Thanks for wasting 2 hours. All right. Okay. So Carm, do you agree with Norm or not?
Strangely enough, I do. I think that all the players that he talked about in the past it's a credit to the generation, and it's a discredit to the new generation. Remember, they spent a lot of money on the Kunku and players of the Jackson, players of that, and Cole Palmer, and they just didn't have compared to the Makaleles of the world, the Contes of the world. The Drogbas of the world. It's just it's a different mentality, and it becomes what It used to be, what can I do for you, Chelsea? Now it's what can you do for me? And and they're kind of adding fuel to the fire by keep buying these prodigies and these young guys, and we won't even bring up a Joao Felix, who's for lack of a better word, failing at every attempt at every club. But yeah, it's not only Chelsea. It's par for the course in a lot of groups. I mean, you look at the mess that Manchester United is, and you look at a lot of what's happening to Man City because they can't replace.
Yeah, Tottenham is struggling mightily as well.
Yeah, Tottenham and again, Tottenham might be like the least buyers or like of the groups, but then you compare that teams that are in the top levels right now, like Inter Milan, who's probably one of the top teams in Europe right now. They just found a way to buy great and make great buys, whether it's Lillian Thuram for 15 million or it's Dumfries for 22 million, whatever it was. But I mean, that's the nature of the business right now. And Cole Palmer's supposed to be their main man, and he's cooled off, pun intended.
Yeah, but I think there's too much of there's just too much of a load on him to do it all. And he is a man. I don't think it's a fault with Cole. I think he works hard. I think he's just been a little bit, as they say, snake bitten, if you want to call it that. I mean, even when he misses, he's not missing by much. I think he's just, maybe his confidence took a bit of a hit, but I wouldn't say he's lacking for effort or trying to do his best. It's just he needs more help around him so that it's not all just 2 and 3 guys defending Cole Palmer and no one to pick up the slack. That's what I think the problem is.
Well, they did spend 100 million on Enzo Fernandez, so Cucurella.
Enzo's not a goal scorer. Like, you can say how much they spent. And, Moise Caicedo has been brilliant in the Chelsea midfield. Some people, especially when Chelsea was doing the well first half of the year, comparing him to, our new N'Golo Kante in terms of his defensive. And defensively, he is a gem. you can argue back and forth who's worth money. Well, get in a whole discussion. Are the Maple Leafs worth the money they're spending? I mean, it's success on the field or on the ice that counts, and that means playoffs and competitions and trophies. So I'm just saying, I wouldn't lay it all at the feet. I'll take Cole Palmer 100 times a day, any day of the week, because he's got the talent. I just think he needs a little more help around him and a bit of a different strategy to free him up from 2 and 3 men, shadowing him.
I don't disagree at all. I don't disagree at all with the makeup of that group. And maybe Mareska is not the right man to lead them, but I think the makeup of that group is kind of not nonsensical, but it doesn't really mesh. Just doesn't have that balance that great teams do have, whether it's center backs, whether it's wherever they are, but it just doesn't have that balance in my opinion.
Well, I think though, a lot of people, a lot of Chelsea supporters would agree with you. So who knows? Maybe in the 2 weeks off, Mareska would have a change of heart. But at Leicester, he certainly didn't change his style. They won their league, so good enough for promotion. But a lot of us are nervously who follow Chelsea are nervously anticipating the final 9 games of the season, wondering if our injured players can come back and reach their level. At least give us a shot at one of those European spots. But right now, it's kind of walking on eggshells if you're a Chelsea supporter, that's for sure.
Okay, so we'll have a lot of time. Me, Carm, John will be doing the soccer show here on 12 Ounce Sports every Friday, probably around noon. And of course, you got John Nelson of OSG with soccer down here every day at 12 Ounce Sports. Before we conclude the soccer talk here, Carm, I'm going to ask you this. About a week ago, 2 weeks ago, MLSC said they're revamping BMO Field for the World Cup. They're going to have about 55,000 people, and they're going to spend, I believe, 123 million, something like that. You were at the first match of TFC history. Now, when you walk in, I believe June 12th or something like that, to BMO Field, because you're going to be there and you're going to get me and Norm a pass to sit beside you and everything like that. Norm, don't worry. I'll send Norm to get the, hot dogs and drinks and everything like that. He'll be schmoozing around. But do you think spending 150 million or whatever is worth 3 or 4 games that they're going to get?
I think it's 4 plus a round of 16, knockout round.
Yeah,
five in a knockout round. Five in a knockout round. For 123 million of taxpayer money. Well, let's see what it brings back to the city. I mean, I think it's going to be an incredible event. And do I think that it's going to be worth it? Yeah, I do. But do I think in the long run that 55,000 seats or whatever it is, 45,000 or whatever they said, is going to be filled every game for Toronto FC? Well, the early indications are saying no, that's not. That's not a comment on the team, whether it's on the field or off the field. It's a comment on the fans. We need to support our team. We've been here since 2007, and the big time supporters have been there through thick and thin. But we need to fill that stadium right now at 30,000 or whatever it is, 30. Yeah. So we need.
It's cutting out. We're having technical difficulties right now with Carm. Hopefully, we'll get back Carm. But Norm, I'll ask you the same question. What do you think of, BMO Field being expanded for a World Cup?
Well, they have to. That's part of the deal. They had no choice, so they have to expand it. And whether or not it pays off, I'm sure it'll pay off. There'll be lots of tourists. So we'll see what when the tournament's over, how much money the city made and how the hotels were filled. They're probably filled already. World Cup is a global event. So I think they'll make their money. How much, I don't know. But yeah, you only get so many shots at a World Cup. So you might as well go for it and do the best you can. And if it's 4 or 5 games, a city like Toronto has lots of other reasons to visit. It's a pretty good city. It's not a perfect city. It has problems, but it's a pretty good city compared to a lot. And, it's a tremendous chance for Toronto and Canada to showcase itself. And, a lot of people like Canada, and why not? There's a lot of good reasons to. Um, I'll leave out the politics with the U.S. and the trade tariffs. That's a whole other story. But that aside, Canada's highly thought of around the world. And I think, most of us, maybe not all, but most of us who are Canadians are very proud of that. So I think the World Cup will be a good thing for Toronto. So, but we'll find out in time. But yeah, I think it's money well invested. Like I say, how many shots have we had at a World Cup before? None. So take this one and make it count.
All right, we're back with Carm. Carm, you want to close out your thought before we close?
No, exactly. Let's make sure that number one, that we show the world that we're a soccer nation, on and off the field, and number two, we make sure that these stadiums are sustainable, and we fill them for Toronto FC and for AFC, whatever events are going on there at the time. So we are a soccer nation. I bet you Canada's one of the most, they're one of the most that watch Serie A and the Prem. So I think that we need to translate that into participation and being there and being great fans and supporters. Let's hope that the stadiums don't go the way other stadiums have, whether it was during the Olympics or whether during the World Cup, where they're basically desolate and just a waste of space. So let's make sure that our great city of Toronto, that it is, supports the stadium, supports BMO Field. And, when we're talking in 2057, that it's a historic landmark and somewhere where we want to be, and people still go to be together and cheer on our city.
So I have one question about what you said, 2057. You think that this Maple Leafs will win the Stanley Cup by 2057? Never mind. Last week, let's talk about MLS here. Home opener for Toronto, losing to Chicago here. And I know Norm didn't watch that, but a lot of fans were at the game. They're excited and everything like that. And it looked like in the 40th minute, everything went down. Everything went down, and they were negative. It's the same team. It's the same thing, and it's the same. They can't do this. Where do you see TFC? I know it's 3-4 games in, but where do you see TFC? Do you see them like last year? Do you see them back 5-6 years ago contending for an MLS Cup? Where do you see TFC?
Well, I think last year was I think it's going to be the opposite of this year. I think Robin Fraser's working with what he has, and unfortunately, it's not a lot. But I think it's going to be the opposite of last year. Last year they started out gangbuster. They were undefeated in, I believe, the first 7 games. All this, all that, maybe more. Close to top of the table. Blah 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 blah. Then the slow decline happened, and this not too so slow, but deep decline happened. I think that the opposite's going to happen this year. I think they're going to develop better. They're going to be at a position, and by the end of the season, where they're fighting for that playoff spot, as they were last year. But I think it's going to be kind of the opposite of what happened last year. It's going to go not from high to low. It's going to go from low to high, and I think that's the progress we would like to see as supporters, and I think Robin Fraser is the right man to do it, and I think he's a class act, and he's knows how to win in this city.
I got to talk about John Nelson, which, by the way, you could see soccer down here tonight at 8 p.m. every day, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. Atlanta taking on Messi and Inter Miami. Messi with a goal yesterday. Go ahead, Carm. I guess you're back here. So you want to answer that question about Messi and Inter Miami winning the MLS Cup?
Oh, MLS Cup's far, far away. Do they have the ability to do that defensively? They still have some questions for sure. In goal, they still have some questions for sure. Although the young Argentinian did very well yesterday in Atlanta, but it's an aged group. It's an aged group, and can the young players come in and spot duty them, like Messi missing the last 3 games and coming in and doing what he did last night was fantastic, was incredible with an incredible goal and just an incredible game altogether. Yeah, do they have it? Yeah, they could. But it's going to be, the Columbuses of the world are still going to be very, very competitive on the West. Seattle and Vancouver looks very good to start the season. So there's going to be formidable opponents, especially in the East. And you saw Atlanta. You saw Atlanta last night with the tweaks they've made. I think they'll give them a big competition in the East as they did last year.
All right, I just got notified by Jim Veltman. Jim Veltman, of course, Hall of Famer for the Toronto Rock. By the way, Norm, the Toronto Rock are having the lousiest year in the last 20 years. Toronto Rock used to be great. They used to pack Maple Leaf Gardens at the time, then Air Canada Center of 19,000. And they're one of the worst teams in the National Lacrosse League. We talk everything here, Norm. Everything. You want to talk about the golf tournament this weekend? We can talk about it. Here, we're Fired Up Network. Check us out on firedupnetwork.ca, here on 12 Ounce Sports, on their YouTube channel, on our YouTube channel, on Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and everything like that. But we're also on Roku and Fire TV. Norm, any last comments? By the way, every Monday and Thursday, we'll be back here on 12 Ounce Sports live. Monday a little bit longer. Thursday, because Norm has to take care of my security responsibilities. Well, we'll be there probably about 25 minutes, but Monday about, right now about an hour. But Norm, any last comments?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure being back on with you, Joe, and thrilled to be on the 12 Ounce Network and Fired Up, of course. And Carm, great to see you again. It's been, looking forward to doing this twice a week and joining some of your other panels. So thanks to Jeff and the staff at 12 Ounce, and to all of our friends who are watching. Is Tracy Murray watching in LA, Joe?
Tracy Murray was watching it, but you did the soliloquy on Chelsea and then he got off. So, that's what he said. Norm's talking for half an hour about Chelsea. Let me do my laundry or something like that. Right.
Well, I'll have to buy him a shirt then, and then he'll enjoy the conversation.
Buy him a shirt. You're opening up that wallet. Wow. I told you.
Joe, you would know all about opening the wallet.
Yes, I would know about opening up the wallet, but by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day. And I got to say this, yesterday, it was your good friend and Carmen's good friends, Giancarlo Lino's 30th birthday. So happy belated birthday to Giancarlo. And of course, my niece, Alyssa Hill, happy birthday. And again, we'll be back here Thursday. Go ahead, Carm. Sorry.
Oh, wait.
That was Norm.
Okay, Norm, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Joe, you forgot to wish everybody happy Purim.
Listen, this is your job. I can't do it here.
To all of our fellow Jewish friends, happy Purim. Hope you had lots of Hamantaschen. Joe, did you eat lots of Hamantaschen, Joe?
I don't remember because it was last week, Norm.
It was not.
Yes,
it ended 2 nights ago.
3 nights ago. Do you live in the past or do you live in the present?
Sometimes living in the past is more fun, but anyway, we'll save that for another.
All right. So once again, Fired Up Network, firedupnetwork.ca. We'll be back here live Monday at noon, Thursdays at noon. And if I could talk to Carmen and twist his arm or maybe break his leg because he's playing goalie there, maybe we'll be back here Friday. But Carm, I'll give you the last chance here. You're the head coach of the men's and ladies York University teams, soccer teams here in Toronto. How are they doing, and are you getting ready for the season?
No, just first, it's great to see you, Norm. You look healthy as usual. Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work. Joe,
Thank you.
congratulations on all your success, and hopefully it grows soon.
No, congratulations on all your success. And now we're on a new network. You know what I'm saying, Carm? Anybody in the MLS, anybody in I'm the mayor, run for the mayor of Mozambique. Mozambique needs a coach for a soccer team. All right, I can't spell Mozambique, but anybody watching here, get a hold of me, and I'll pass you along to Carmen, and I take 60% of profits. All right, go ahead, Carm.
And happy birthday, Giancarlo and Norm. Say hi to your brother Dave, please. And you guys, I look forward to working with you and coming on with all of you, especially John as well. So thank you, and we'll talk soon. And happy St. Patrick's Day and whatever Norm forgot about.
Yeah, that's right. Shame on me. I mean, my kickbox instructors were Irish guys, so shame on me. My apologies to them.
They're gonna kick your ass. All right.
I would
For
deserve it too.
the
And
broadcasting.
by the way, John Carlo, happy birthday! I forgot to sneak that in too.
All right, interrupt me again. I'm going to cut you off. All right, broadcasting legend Norm Rumack, and legend himself in soccer, Carmen Asako, will be joined again this week by John Freeman Nelson. Check out his show, Soccer Down Here, 8 p.m. tonight on the 12-ounce Sports Network. Till next time, till Thursday, Norm, wear a better shirt. You're here with the president of the provinces of Canada. Hold on. I gotta go now. I gotta take a call from Donald Trump. Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thanks, Norm, and thanks,
Thank you. Thanks, guys.